Thank you so much for the time and for the privilege to be here on your interview. So yeah, my name is Makwanise, born and raised from Zimbabwe in a city called Harare. I was born in 1991 on the 27th of June. I come from a family of 8 kids. My mom had 8 kids with about 3 different husbands. So before I was conceived, my mom had 6 girls and she kept looking for a boy. So there I am, I came as the number 7, and then, you know, it explains my name, Treasure. I was hard to get. She had to conceive 6 times before she get a boy, and after me comes my young brother, his name is Pride. So yeah, I'm from Zimbabwe, and currently I'm residing in Rwanda. I'm a chef and a restaurant owner for a new restaurant we just opened 6 weeks ago called Under Kigali. That's a very interesting question. And funny enough, when I grew up, I grew up in such an environment where I wasn't so exposed to a lot of, fancy life, new things, restaurants, hotels. No, I wasn't born in such an environment. We didn't have much when I was growing up. We were quite poor. And my dream job was, I had 2 dream jobs actually. I was a footballer, very good footballer. I was very athletic, but I wanted to always pursue being a CIA. Those guys who are tough and they protecting the presidents and stuff like that. Or because of my love of music, I wanted to become a DJ by nature. So yeah, those were my 2 key interests as I was growing up. And in terms of food, it was never my hobby, it was not my culture. We used to eat very limited things. You guys, you call it ugali or kawunga in Rwanda, but we call it sadza, and we used to eat that almost every day of our lives when I was growing up. So there wasn't much of a variety on our plate, which I understood very well because of our family resources, right? So yeah, those were my major 2 jobs that I wanted to do. The reason why I ended up being a chef was none other than the pressure. The pressure really attracted me to become a chef. I always wanted to be a tough guy. As you can see, being a CIA requires someone who is quite tough but very resilient and quite humble, right? So I left Zimbabwe when I was about 16, 17 years old. I went to South Africa, where I illegally migrated to South Africa. I lived in Cape Town for about 4 years as a homeless person. Life was quite very, very, very hard. It wasn't easy staying in the streets, waiting for people who are eating in places like KFC to have some remainings. When they throw their takeaway containers in the garbage, that's where I would go and start to scavenge for my own meal. So life was quite hard then, and I was very lucky during that time. After my 4 months of struggle, I got my first job in 2009 at the one and only Cape Town when they were doing their pre-opening. And my job was a steward. So my responsibilities were to clean the kitchen, clean the dishes and mop and stuff like that, And it is from there where I was exposed to the industry. And you're talking about a kid who grew up from nothing, and straight your first job is in a 5-star establishment, which is this massive resort, aspiring to be a 6-star, first one of its own in Africa. And there you are, Treasure is right in the middle of the kitchen. You can imagine all this was a confusion for me. I didn't know anything, I was new. You know, my first time being in a kitchen, I felt like I was in a theater. You know, we had swing doors that could open by you pushing them, and you walk in, you see everybody dressed in white and those small little heads like they are doctors. And the adrenaline, the speed, the rush, the pace. And at some point I was asking myself, where am I? You know, what's this place? Also now, on top of that, seeing chefs, you know, shouting at each other, giving each other pressure. And I heard this was food they are making. So for me, translating all of that to the way I was raised and how I grew up, I had so many questions that were not answered. I asked myself, what kind of food are these guys cooking to such an extent that they even have to shout each other? And moreover, who is going to consume whatever they are cooking, right? So I didn't know all of that. And that's when, you know, I got involved in the industry. So I remember back in the days, because I used to see chefs being shouted, sent off the line, go home, give me the apron, you're useless, and this and that and that. And because of my dream job, I wanted to be a CIA. It kind of attracted me in such a way that one day, I remember vividly, I was mopping, then I was looking at a chef, you know, making mashed potato, and I thought one day, I want to be that chef who can cook and don't get to be chased out because he's doing it properly. You know, so that was my challenge internally. You know, I started to desire being this kind of a person who does it properly. So funny enough, it took me a lot of strength and energy, efforts to get to that position. And because I didn't have a house to stay, what I'll do when I work in the morning as a cleaner, in my PM time, I would offer my services to chefs. I want to be here. Do you want my help? I can peel your carrots and your onions. And let me tell you something, in the whole world, a chef can be so lazy when he knows that he has an assistant. So that's what happened to me. You know, I started to get a lot of prep, a lot of jobs to do, and from there I learned a lot. I started to understand the basics, herbs, cheese. I didn't know anything, and I have not been to any culinary school, and my highest educational form was a high school. So I didn't have that privilege to even go and attend university, nor even a college. So the way work was being thrown at me sometimes was hard, but it made me learn even more faster, you know. So from there, I grew so much interest in the job. And I had a very wonderful mentor. His name was Jason Miller. He was a white guy. And you know, I come from a background where we just did land reform, and we had taken all the land from white people. And then my mind thought, you know, these people are evil, they, you know, colonized us and this and that. But my mind sort of swifted when I went to South Africa, because you are now in a country where black people are fighting against other black foreigners, and then I'm standing in the middle of this situation, but yeah, xenophobic, but now I'm having a white person, you know, supporting me, yet my other black people are against me. So it really changed the way I look at things and the way I judge people, you know. So I was very lucky. I took the job serious from the first day. You know, I was taught it was always about passion, you know, dedication, passion, dedication, being creative. The world is your oyster, sort of a thing. So it made me to be a person who I am, you know. And from there, I became a chef. They took me from cleaning, and then I became a permanent chef assistant. And I started learning how to cook. I was always eager, a little bit stubborn at some point, I have to apologize to those who were teaching me back in the days. Because sometimes when you are junior, you sometimes think that people are being so harsh on you. And later on in your career, when you become a senior, you start to understand that, you know what I thought was brutal was actually to help you and was actually part of the process, right? So yeah, I ended up being a chef, and from there I never looked back. No, I was very alone. Actually, I ran away from home. Things were very hard. You know, my mom had died 2 years prior to my departure to South Africa. I had a little bit fallout with some of my siblings. You know, I was trying to protect our heritage that my mom had kept for us before she died. But, you know, because I was the youngest, one of the youngest, so some of my siblings, they didn't take that very well, that this boy is trying to educate us now on how to, you know, to handle things. So they kind of took everything that they were supporting me on, and I was left alone with nothing, not even clothes on my body. So, you know, it really inspired me to go out and hunt for myself as a man and try to create my own ventures in person. No, so my dad still exists, but we didn't grow up together because at a very early stage, when I was about 7 years, he was caught up in the middle of a criminal act. So he was sentenced to jail. He actually he was raping my sister, one of my half sisters. So we didn't grow up with him. He was sentenced to prison, and from there my mom became very alcoholic. Then it later took her life. You know, she was very depressed because another thing, she found it out herself. She caught him red-handed. It was not a story she was told by other people. She saw it with her eyes when she came the other day from work during lunch. She opened her bedroom, and you can just imagine the trauma that one can have in their mind, seeing your daughter being, you know, being raped by the man you trust and you think is your husband. Yeah. So we didn't grow up with our dad. Life was already difficult when I was growing up, and from the society, we used to be a laughing stock because of what our father had done, and I grew up with that, you know, that internal drive that, you know, I just want to be something different. So I spent about 4.5 years working at the one and only Cape Town. That's where I really perfected my basic knowledge, and I'm really grateful to that brand. They really made me who I am. They gave me a wonderful opportunity in my whole life that I can't even imagine I would have gotten such an open door. So I spent 4.5 years working there tirelessly, learning as much as I can, capitalizing on the opportunities, and I was very fortunate enough that I got promoted almost 3 times while I was working at the one and only. So even by the time I left, I was becoming one of the key team players in the culinary team. So from one and only, I then went to work in the Middle East. I did some time in Abu Dhabi, and then from Abu Dhabi, I worked for Disney Cruise Liners. I went to America, and then from there, I also went to Dubai. We opened a place called IMG Worlds of Adventure. All this time I was a chef, and from this time, I'm also increasing my network as well, people I know. And from Dubai, I went to work in Seychelles. I worked at a very beautiful property called Frigate Private Island. This was about 2016. And from 2016, after some months, I then left. I came to South Africa. So when I was in South Africa in 2017, one of my mentor who had trained me, Jason Miller, he was back at the one and only Cape Town, and they were looking, the team had already scattered. Some of the team members had left and were working in different places. So when he went back, the team wasn't as strong as it was back then. So he was trying to reform some of his key players. So he contacted me to come back and work with him at one and only Cape Town as a senior chef, one of the managers. I was very honored because it's not something that I ever thought it would have happened. Like this same resort that I started as a cleaner, I'm now going back and running the kitchen. It was such an incredible honor. So I went back to one and only Cape Town in 2017. So when I was there, during my time there, I spent only 3 months because one and only was in the midst of creating one and only Nyungwe in Rwanda. So that's when I then moved to Rwanda as an executive chef for one and only Rwanda, one and only Nyungwe, and I did pre-open the resort. It wasn't easy because I didn't know a lot about financial aspect of the business. All that I knew back then was more of operations. It was very rare for me to think that you need to know finances, budgets, all that kind of stuff. So it was new to me, and there I am with such a huge responsibility in Rwanda to create all of that and to recruit and to come up with concepts, so there was a lot of shaking that happened, mentally, physically. Now I have all the brigade reporting to me, and I'm reporting straight to the general manager. So it wasn't an easy task per se, and I'm in the middle of the village, Gisakura village, right in the center of a beautiful forest, Nyungwe, but there was so much challenges. You're talking about people who were learning English a few years ago. They've been speaking French, and I don't speak French, so there was a lot of challenges, language barrier, etc. But with time I managed to maneuver in my way into the market. But so far I think Rwanda has been my favorite sport of my career. It really helped me to be treasured, to be who I am. It allowed me to feel free internally, externally. So yeah, that's how I ended up in Rwanda. Yeah, so today we are seated right inside my restaurant while we are doing our interview, which is quite a big honor. I'm very grateful to the opportunity that the country even itself has given, and allowing such people like me as a foreigner to come and be able to excel to such an extent that I am today. Though maybe financially not, but I'm happy. I have freedom of expression. I can express myself through cooking, and I left one and only Nyungwe just when COVID started in 2020. So, I tried to start my own restaurant at Choose Kigali, though I had a fallout with the guy I was partnering with, and I ended up losing my business. So I took a break from Rwanda. I took about a year I spent in Nigeria. I was trying to gather some resources and also networking and experiencing a different market, which I really enjoyed the most. I was working with some very good people in Nigeria, and here I am. I came back a year later because I still believe, and I felt this massive connection between myself and Rwanda. If you also put the history, it didn't just start like all rose and gold the way it feels today. They're also coming from a humble beginning as a country, So am I as a chef. I also have my history that I fled and this and that. So coming here in such a place like this makes me feel so much responsibilities on my shoulder. You know, we have to be forefront and inspire each and every one of the youth that feels that they might be hopeless, there's no way to get out of the situation. And I just want to be that person that they can look at and say, you know, it's possible. We can do more than him. You know, that's actually the truth, and that's why I'm back in Rwanda. So I came back about 2.5, 3 months ago, and then since I came back, I've been working on this project under Kigali. So we just opened officially 6 weeks ago. So yeah, so far we've been trying our best, myself and the team. We are really working tirelessly to be able to build something unique in Rwanda, which is more intimate and it's more about emotional expression. Well, for us, if you're looking for something visually special, we really don't have anything special. We're actually more or less advantaged in the city. We are not a big entity. We are such a small entity, but the only thing I guarantee our clients when they come here is that emotional connection with the space and with the staff and with what we are trying to present, because we are not guiding ourselves through books or through influencers or through anything. We're just following how we feel. We want to be able to be emotionally heard, which doesn't always happen in hospitality. Everyone always focuses on the physical part of it, you know, but we want to connect emotionally. We want, even if you haven't seen my face, for you to be able to picture or to even imagine, how do I look like? How does the person behind all of this looks like? So we seek that connection, and that's a guarantee. When you come to our restaurant, you definitely feel that, and that's what we want to sell. I always wanted a place where not only myself, but all those that I work with can feel free to express themselves without any barrier, without us classifying our cuisine that we do Italian, we do French, we do African. No, we don't do that, because what will then happen one day when you wake up and you feel like you want to make a pasta, you have already boxed yourself that I'm a Mexican chef. You know, there's no pasta in Mexico. So we are a timeless restaurant. You know, we are a free space. So this is what Anda is all about. We don't want people to come here seeking for usual things they see elsewhere. We want people who comes here to be looking for what we do and the curious-minded. In that way, we can now be free to express ourselves. Man, working in foreign countries is one of the biggest challenges any person can ever have. You entering a new space where people are speaking their own language, their own tongue. You don't even have a zero clue about what's going on. There's a lot of cultural diversification that happens. Not only that, then there's this huge discrimination that happens throughout the world. When you are a foreigner, you wake up, you always remind yourself that I don't belong here, my accent is not from here, maybe my small face or my small nose or my, you know, all these little features that we all possess that signifies where we come from. It always reminds you, and not only that now, then you get the local people from different countries that are very stubborn to actually tell you you don't belong here, you know. So which is why I think Rwanda is very different and is very unique. You know, this is the only place and the only country, for myself, talking about myself, that I've been and I've never felt, not even one day. I woke up and I remember I'm not a Rwandese, never. I'm always feeling like I'm part of the society. That's how welcoming it is. And yeah, my experience traveling the world has been great in terms of learning, mastering the craft. But freedom of expression has always been limited because of that aspect. But when I came to Rwanda, everything sort of changed. You know, there's this amazing welcome and feel at home vibe. As long you are not doing something that is off the grid, I think this is a place that is very welcoming to any foreigner. Well, I think we as Africans or as people in the world, we need to change the way we see things at the moment, because a lot of things have transformed. You know, back in the days, I always tell people, back in the days, we used to go to study because there was no memory contenters. You know, there was nothing to hold a memory of certain data. So you had to read 20 books to memorize them. Right? But at the moment, we have a lot of digital things. We have a lot of things that can content memory. You know, nowadays, you don't even have to think hard to know, you know, the root of 25x. You just go on Google, right there you find your answer. There's so many platforms, right? So thereby, it already reduces the need of memorizing things, right? What is there that is left? It's the talent, it's the craft that one possessed when he or she was born, you know. So I think education is very necessary, but we need to allow room for skills. We need to allow room for different career paths. You know, there's a lot of people who are making a good living with arts in the industry. So cooking is one of the best thing that one can ever do. But if you enter cooking because of money, you're hardly going to succeed, you know, because this job is not about money. When you do cook, you need to be able to feel love when you're serving people. That's the reward. That's the most biggest reward, is knowing when you sleep, you knowing that, wow, today I've served people and they really enjoy my craft. And trust me, even if you made zero revenue on that day, your heart and your soul is very satisfied. So I would encourage everyone, especially in countries like Rwanda, where a lot of tourists are now coming. The country is doing very well. It's welcoming to everybody from all over the world. When people come here, they want to see, you know, a lot of diversification in terms of culinary. They want to know, they want to eat, they want to explore, so that when they go back to their countries, they have something to tell about the food culture, right? So why not can't we let our kids, our sisters, our brothers get involved in such a massive industry? That's why you see many experts, they are coming in Rwanda, they are taking over these jobs, because most of the people here, they are not yet open to it, if per se. They still think it's a lady responsibility to cook, you know, which is not true. It's for both genders. So let's encourage our kids to do things that we never accepted, that our parents didn't accept us to do, per se. What keeps me going is, that's a very tough situation. I mean, a tough question, but what basically keeps me going,
the philosophy.
Yeah, is the fact that there's always someone looking up to you. You know, there's always someone, even if you are a mad person or you are not a mad person, you know, there's someone who's looking at you, there's someone observing what you're doing. So when you wake up, you're tired, you want to give up, you have to consider that person and just push one more time for that person. You know, that's what keeps me going. And the fact that I feel happy when I cook, you know, that's the only time I find my refuge, when I'm in the kitchen, when I'm with my team at work. We become like a family. So, you know, those people, they inspire me. And moreover, I always feel very happy when I work with people who are also coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, similar or even worse than how I started. That makes me feel like these people are my family, because we all have something in common. And most of the times, working with such people, they will always deliver 1000% extra, because they don't know anything else. So you give them something, you give them a platform, they'll make sure they hold strong to it, so that becomes their daily bread, you know. So these are things that makes me happy. And just seeing change in the society, that, you know, at least one more person is now interested in culinary arts, it's just more satisfying. It makes me feel like, you know what, maybe tomorrow you're gonna convince one more, you know, you have to keep. It's not really about money, to be honest. It's about that feeling, that change, and that's the most push and motive behind whatever I do. So my team here, our restaurant can seat up to 24 people. My team is about, including myself, we are about 32 people. Yeah, 32 people. We try not to take corners, not to cut corners. We try to do things properly. That's one of the key elements I've seen lacking so far in most African parts, or even in Rwanda. Most of the institutions that are involved in restaurant business, they like to understaff themselves with employees. Thereby, one person ends up working longer than they're supposed to. That's why you see sometimes you go out, you don't really get best service, because people are also tired, right? And the incentive as well, how much we are paying people. You know, let's sit down as hospitalities and hoteliers in the country and see how can we make life better. Because if you go to other countries, like say for example in Cape Town, you'll find a waiter driving a car. If you go to London, it's a profession that people are actually proud to get in. You know, why can't we do it in such beautiful places like this, where we can be able to appreciate, you know, the workers that are working for us, helping us build this industry, so they also can live comfortably, which will then make it easy for us to convince the youth that this is an industry you can actually take as a career path. You know, it will make more sense rather than we telling people, can you be a chef? And when they look at the top chefs, they don't even possess A, B, C, D basic things. How are we going to convince then people to fall in love with the industry? So those are the small little challenges. And also I think we as chefs, hoteliers, we need to have a connection with the farmers who are farming our produce. You know, we need to meet often. How can I cook something that I'm not aware of how it was grown? And how can you grow something that you are not aware who's gonna cook it? You know, there has to be a connection that will then help us to make even a big evolution, you know, revolution of culinary scene in Rwanda, because we have such a beautiful climate, beautiful land, which is very fertile. We can do so much, you know, there can be so many extra products that can be farmed, you know. So it's all those small little things that if we can even implement even a better way, I think we'll become one of the best culinary tourist destination. I would love people one day to just book a flight to come to Kigali just because of different scenes of restaurants and culinary, not only for gorillas. There's so much more in the country. Even the people themselves here, they are wonderful, and that, yeah. So we just have to keep working hard, and it will take time, of course, but it's already, evolving as we can all witness it. So Under Kigali is located in Kimihurura. We are at number 30 KG 566 Street. We open from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We do lunch, dinner from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then on Sundays, we only focus on our sundowner branch, which starts from 2 p.m. till late. And our lunches from Thursday to Saturday, they open from 12 o'clock till 3:30. And then our dinner starts from 6 p.m. till late. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesday, we are shut. We do our trainings. We also take some time to rest as a team. And we are also open for private events in case people want to do a private birthday or any celebration, or even just a lunch or a regular dinner. We are open to that as well. But you have to book in advance for us to be able to accommodate that. And we do have our website, under.rw, for reservations, and we are also strictly by reservations. It's not a walk-in restaurant, because we want to make sure we curate an experience based on the client allergies and requirements, etc. So that's a brief of what is Under Kigali.